With players like Kylian Mbappe, Rashford, and many more bearing scars of the extent to which teams or fans are willing to melt their frustration, it leaves us wondering, has violence always been part of the game? Or does fan pressure play a role in these violences? And most importantly, is it a fair price to pay for the glory of a title? Coming into light in 13th century England, modern football was a sport meant to encourage solidarity and sportsmanship for its players and audience. However, opposing opinions between tribes and teams soon transformed the sport into a crazy game with a lot of bloodshed. The first evidence of football violence played out in the 1885 game between Aston Villa and Preston North, resulting in a 5-0 win for Preston. This victory, like every other, left a foul feeling in the hearts of the losers that soon resulted in violent punches and assaults that left people injured. This shocking act of violence from fans was merely a start, as it played out again in 1905 after some Preston fans launched a drunken attack in Queen's Park. The authorities and local police tried to stop it, but these streams of violence continued to spill over into more matches, especially into the 1930s. With over 20 reports of violent incidents annually across England, it didn't take long for this consistent violence from fans to gain recognition within Europe and beyond, becoming a global pandemic that will eventually alter the course of modern football. But were these minor fights by drunken fans in England only the beginning of something much worse that'll shake the entire Europe? The curse of football violence began in 1985 at Hazel Stadium. This conflict between Liverpool and Juventus fans started as a simple argument during the European Championship finals held in Brussels, Belgium, but spiraled out of control when dissatisfied Liverpool fans attacked Juventus. Although the stadium wasn't in the best of condition, it doesn't justify what happened next, as insults to the Italian team grew heated before the kickoff games, and as the Juventus fans tried to escape the stones and bottles, they pressed against the weak walls and it collapsed. It was shocking to watch the aggressive attacks by Liverpool fans lead to about 39 people to their deaths and leave over 500 injured during the stampede. Bringing karma for their actions, England was banned from the UEFA for 5 years and the team for 6. It's easy to assume that after such a dark moment, these violent actions would stop, but they didn't, as these fans went further in creating groups and gathering weapons against the opposing teams. It didn't take long for another bout of fan violence to occur in the 1962 FIFA World Cup between Italy and Chile. The intense violence of the match earned it the nickname the Battle of Santiago, especially after things escalated on the pitch 12 minutes into the match. The brutal assault led to police intervention and more red card-worthy violence throughout the 90 minutes game. Although the match ended in a 2-0 victory for Chile, the injuries sustained by players and fans alike make it one of the most notable matches in football history. After several petitions by legal experts, the Anti-Hooliganism Act was passed in 1994, but it didn't totally eliminate violence and injuries during matches or tournament competitions. Nevertheless, the act did little to reduce the death rate during these games, and with more arrests being made, their activities started to decline. Were these efforts by law enforcement enough to keep the racially and ideologically fueled violence from spilling into recent competitions and leading to the decline of the sport? Despite the 1994 act aimed at controlling this violence and stopping it totally, like cancer, it started to spread out of England to other parts of Europe. The 2000s era saw less weaponized physical violence from fans, but the psychological impact was still as dangerous. Heightened assaults by angry fans occurred in the 2010 FIFA incident, where after losing to England, a group of angry German fans set the English flag on fire. A major racial aggression occurred in 2015 when 4 Chelsea fans were convicted of pushing a black citizen into a metro in Paris right before their match against PSG. This racial assault led to a fine of €10,000 for the victim, but only went ahead to confirm the severity of racial discrimination within the game. During another fan clash in the 2016 UEFA group stage match between Juventus and Seville, a Seville player ended up hospitalized and 2 Juventus fans were stabbed, with one dying in the process. In France, fan violence shifted into a racially based war, both between other teams and some home fans. With players like Kylian Mbappe, Karim Benzema, and N'Golo Kante, it wasn't too hard to attribute their failures to certain competitions to their racial backgrounds. This emotional abuse and bullying went from howling curses or insults at them from across the pitch to creating social media accounts to express this hatred. An instance of this fan hostility is seen in the 2021 Ligue 1 match between PSG and Marseille, where fans of Marseille threw objects and made racial derogatory comments against Kylian Mbappe. Another notable scenario of cyberbullying against players was seen in 2021 after Rashford missed a penalty kick during the Euro 2020 finals. A 19-year-old took to Twitter to make racist comments about the player. Although he was jailed, it didn't stop, as players like Bukayo Saka also faced the same mean treatment. In 2023, during one of the minor league games between Edinburgh and Dunipace FC in England, fans' dissatisfaction with the game led to the burning of the AstroTurf after some threw flames onto the pitch. More issues ranging from physical to cyberbullying persisted in football seasons even till 2024, and one can't help but wonder, did these criticism and insults increase the pressure on our players and affect the overall team performance? During crossfires of football violence, both the fans and players suffer the backlash of these incidents, but the consequences on the players, coaches, and teams are more intense. With the overwhelming pressure to deliver and avoid the deadly criticism of fans of both home and away teams, these players are forced to use fierce and sometimes cruel tactics to ensure their victory. There's also the aspect of pushing themselves too far and ending up with some career-ending injuries in the process. The dangers of violence on the pitch among players were evident during the 2010 World Cup finals. In a desperate attempt to score a goal 28 minutes to the end of the game, Dutch player Nigel de Jong unintentionally kicked Xavi Alonso in the chest. This assault on the Spanish player not only injured him, but almost cost them their win. But Alonso continued to play till the end. Kylian Mbappe in the 2018 World Cup finals faced a lot of criticism and backlash from French nationals and other teams when he underperformed during the competition. This put a lot of pressure on the youngster to perform and led to him pushing himself beyond the limits until he ended up shattering his nose in the 2022 UEFA qualifiers. Caught in the crossfire of dealing with fan pressure and managing overworked players, Chelsea Arsenal manager Thomas Tuchel and Antonio Conte of Tottenham in August 2022 had a standoff after their 2-2 game at Stamford Bridge. These verbal and nearly physical confrontations between the two managers led to them being given a red card, escorted out of the pitch, and sanctioned by the Football Association. Another similar incident played out in December 2023 when the Turkish manager Ankaragucu Faruk was arrested after assaulting a referee during a game. According to reports of the incident, Koka reportedly entered the field after the Superliga match against Rizepor ended in a draw and hit referee Halil Miller in the face. Luckily, they were pulled apart before he could inflict any more damage, but some Turkish fans had also assaulted the referee. This action by the manager was described as disgraceful and a projection of the racial discrimination that has existed in the sport. The issue of fan attacks on players on the pitch was vividly seen in the match between Tottenham and Arsenal held in January 2024 at North Derby, when a 35-year-old Tottenham fan threw a flying kick at Arsenal goalkeeper Ramsey and ended up being charged with assault. It is easy to blame miscommunication and a short temper for the reactions of these people. However, we cannot deny that the pressure to make one's team or country proud pushes them down the darkest path. Are the fears of being unsafe on and off the pitch left unattended to by the Football Association? For a sport meant to encourage team spirit and entertainment, things have managed to go out of hand and lead to terrible losses of lives and injuries both on and off the pitch. The fear of losing one's life or getting assaulted by a random stranger not only torments the dreams of fans, but also affects the performance of players and officials who no longer feel safe doing their job. These concerns have led to the call for active security measures to deal with these violence. Since the Anti-Hooliganism Act in 1994 wasn't enough to limit the act of violence from fans globally, the Football Association has come up with a system for tightening security at their games and banning alcohol in bottles. The seriousness of this decision was seen when alcohol was totally banned during the Euro 2016 games. While this doesn't guarantee total security during the games, the increased police personnel have limited the possibility of full crowd violence. When it comes to protecting the players, security personnel are positioned around the pitches during competitions to protect the players on and off the pitch. A heavy presence is felt as well. The introduction of disciplinary rules to guide not just spectators, but also players and coaches helps keep violence at bay. For instance, during FIFA 2014, Luis Suarez faced disciplinary action for his biting incidents and was suspended from 9 international matches. To avoid further agitation by fans or players at the referee about impartiality, the VAR has been helpful in reviewing and addressing games and rules violated. The relevance of this played out during the UEFA Euro 2020 semi-final between England and Denmark in 2021, where there was an issue about a penalty awarded to England. Despite the controversy about the referee's decision, the VAR proved that it was a fair judgment after all. The most evident way the Football Association addressed the issue of violence was by enlightening the public about racial equality through jerseys, posters, and armbands. Some of these souvenirs were seen on players during the UEFA Euro 2020 and the 2022 World Cup tournament, where players wore the Say No to Racism shirts and armbands. Football violence is definitely one of the biggest crises faced in the sport to date, crippling not just the player's performance, but leaving sadness as well. Eliminating violence completely from football is a battle that has been ongoing for decades and honestly is far from over. However, recent steps by FIFA and the players proves that they're far from giving in to oppression. Now, do you think the violence is part of what makes the sport thrilling or the best way to motivate the players to push further? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing football hot topics.
Like and subscribe.